The year was 1961.
In the name of love, before you break my heart.
The Supremes had just signed with Motown Records.
The Dick Van Dyke Show.
The first episode of The Dick Van Dyke Show aired.
I, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear
John F. Kennedy was sworn in as the nation's 35th president.
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
And 13 black and white students known as Freedom Riders challenged segregation in the Deep South.
These people are going from town to town and getting off the bus, Negro men and white women, to provoke acts of violence.
Near Clarkston, Georgia, a suburb of Atlanta, a new college is born. DeKalb Technical School was organized as the post-secondary unit of the DeKalb County school system. The college opened its doors for the first time with 18 electronic technology students. Paul Lowry was its first director, as they were called in those days. The following year, ground was broken for DeKalb Area Technical School at its current location on North Indian Creek Drive. It was 1964 when the school graduated its first class of 100 students. As the years passed, programs were added, enrollment increased. By the turn of the decade, DeKalb Tech, as it was commonly known by then, became accredited by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. By 1972, the college began operating as the technical division of the newly formed DeKalb Community College, both governed by the county school system. From the mid-1960s to the late 70s, James Clark, Travis Weatherly, and Barry Mellinger led the college as directors. Paul Starnes was the first to have the title of president. He took the reins of the school in 1979. By then, enrollment had grown to around 22,000 credit and non-credit students. Times and technology marched on. The college adapted to the changing educational needs in the community. By the mid-1980s, the name was changed to DeKalb Technical Institute. In the 90s, the college changed governance from the county school system to the State Department of Technical and Adult Education, predecessor to the Technical College System of Georgia we know today. A Covington-Newton campus was added, along with a newly acquired Newton Center and the Community Education Center in Doraville. The dawn of the 21st century brought online classes and the adding of Morgan County to our service delivery area. 2004 saw the college's first female president, Dr. Robin Hoffman. A year later, enrollment was approaching 8,000 credit students, and the 4 decades-old facade of the main campus was given a facelift. 2011 saw even more changes in the college's history with the renaming to Georgia Piedmont Technical College and the celebration of the college's 50th anniversary. GPTC now offers the state's largest adult education program and serves about 20,000 students every year in credit and non-credit classes. With the retirement of Dr. Robin Hoffman, the gateway was open for a new leader to take the college into its second half-century. A search for a new president began, and Dr. Jabari Samama was chosen as Georgia Piedmont Technical College's third president. Who is Jabari Samama? In the mid-1950s, a child was born to Ida and Floyd Lewis Jr. He would be the second of 8 children raised in a working-class family.
My mother did a number of things. At one point, when I grew up, she was a domestic. At another point, she was sort of like a clerk in a department store. My father was a car washer. Spent most of his life washing cars. So my people were working class people.
Ultimately, it would be 4 strong women who would mold and shape this child into the man he would become.
I was essentially raised by women, the more I think of it. My grandmother and my great aunt and my aunt and my mother, the 4 of them collectively sort of raised me.
His formative years were influenced by the turbulent 1960s. Throughout the course of his life, the bitter tumult of racism would impact the opportunities available to this maturing young man. His first 6 years of formal education were in a segregated community and school system in Missouri. Even childhood fun times were sometimes tinged with racism.
We went to an amusement park, and the guy who actually took the tickets to let you get on the ride, actually insulted us and was taunting us, saying things to the effect of, you little darkies come over here and you little darkies can ride on this ride.
But this Midwestern-raised child would grow up to overcome these and other obstacles and become an educator, a scholar, and a statesman. He was the first in his family to go to college, a monumental feat and a source of pride.
When I entered college in 1969, probably the year that many of your parents finished high school, I felt a tremendous sense of responsibility and obligation because I was doing it for my family, I was doing it for myself, of course, I was doing it for my community.
His educational path would take him away from his Midwestern roots and Lincoln University, where he spent his freshman year and played on the football team, to the University of Bridgeport in Connecticut, where he would get his undergraduate degree and become involved with various social and cultural arts initiatives of the time. His journey would bring him to Atlanta, where he got his master's from Atlanta University. As he was finishing that, he got his first teaching opportunity in 1974 at Atlanta Junior College, now known as Atlanta Metropolitan State College, where he was one of the founding faculty members that helped launch the Urban Community College. While there, he would get his PhD in 3 years at the young age of 27 from Emory University. Later, his teaching career would take him to classrooms at the University of Connecticut and Morgan State University. But Atlanta would be the epicenter of his impact on society and education. He taught in media programs at both Clark Atlanta University and Georgia Tech, and made a name for himself in public service and social issues and in politics.
It's my pleasure to present Councilman Jabari Simama.
His commitment to the empowerment of the disadvantaged took on a global perspective after an expedition to South Africa. There he encountered soon-to-be President Nelson Mandela and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Simama was with an American delegation in 1991 while he was serving one of his 2 terms as Atlanta City Councilman.
The delegation was invited to tea at Archbishop Tutu's lovely Cape Town home. It was here that Nelson Mandela spent his first night of freedom after 27 years imprisoned in nearby Robben Island. The delegation spent a pleasant Easter afternoon discussing the past, the challenges of the future, and collecting memories.
Along life's journey, he had a constant companion, a woman who he exchanged vows with in 1974. They gave each other Swahili names, Jabari, meaning brave, and Nisha, meaning a valid confirmation. Together, they shared Simama, meaning stand up.
We actually decided to exchange names instead of exchanging gifts.
That union would produce 2 lovely daughters, for which the couple is very proud. Years later, the eldest, who is a public school teacher in Brooklyn, New York, would pay homage to her father in a video.
I want my father to be honored for what he has done and for the man that he is. I want to honor him in his life, even though it has been a bit of a burden to me, having not inherited that thing.
While always a devoted father at home, his work took him in front of the TV camera as a subject and cable television manager. He helped launch Community Access TV in Atlanta.
Ain't that new? Ain't that new? Ain't that new? Ain't that new? Man, ain't that new? Ain't that new? I got news, real news. I got news, man, I got news. Let me tell you, my baby's coming home tomorrow.
Welcome to another edition of Breakfast at Pasco's. I'm Jabari Simama, your host. Thank you for joining us for Table Talk, a weekly program we promise to stimulate you, make you think, make you angry, and most importantly, make you want to do something to improve your community. Our intention is not to spend the day. Welcome to this edition of Atlanta Issues and People. We're here with Reverend C.T. Vivian, Reverend Dr. C.T. Vivian.
Later, Simama helped popularize the term the digital divide, creating one of the nation's largest media and computer technology programs to bridge the divide between the haves and the have-nots.
In the city of Atlanta, the mayor and the city council are bringing a tangible, valuable asset to neighborhoods that if we were not there, they would not have access to a computer or an internet.
Through the years and the experiences, Dr. Jabari Samama developed a passion for educating the underprivileged and disenfranchised. Later, in 2005, he was to become Vice President of Community Development at Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina. Samama's commitment to public service and longing to return home to the metro Atlanta area ultimately led him to become Deputy Chief Operating Officer and Chief of Staff for DeKalb County. All of the life lessons, experiences, triumphs, and letdowns prepared Jabari Samama for the leadership of Georgia Piedmont Technical College, a position he assumed in the fall of 2012. With a bold vision for the future, he is leading the college to new heights.